Hello all, hope you guys are doing well. Welcome to the Blackhat Arsenal 2025. My name is Chintan Gurjar and today I'm going to discuss a bit about the external attack surface management. The tool that I have created, which is Frogy 2.0. Frog is not the only tool name, but you can see on the top, it's also my nickname, which I have been carrying in the cyber world and online gaming world. So why Froggy name for this particular tool? Because legend says that a frog can become a prince with the right kiss. So frog is unsung hero of the Recon world, and I'll tell you why. It's quite unassuming but capable of revealing a golden insights into your external attack surface management. Once you kiss it with the target list, it will transform your raw data into nice princely reports and actionable insights and everything. So, like, without further ado, let's just straight dive into that. Okay, so a bit about myself. So, who I am, what I do. As I mentioned, I'm Chintan. I have a couple of certifications from CS to OACP, a bit in threat intel and CrowdStrike and blockchain, and also SANS MGT 516, which is enterprise and cloud vulnerability management. Overall, I have around 13 years of experience. I started my career from offensive security from the consulting companies, managing and leading pen testing, security assessment, and doing hands-on activity. And then slowly I transitioned myself into product-based companies where I was, given a chance to lead the threat intelligence and vulnerability management division end to end. Um, so yeah, I do have a techno-managerial background from small product-based companies to small consulting companies to Big Four, and then big product-based firms like retail firms like Tesco and Marks and Spencer. I also work for entertainment industry TikTok. So these are a couple of big names. And I'm a builder of a large security programs in the big firm. Apart from my 9 to 5 job, I do like to give back to the community. So I have authored this applied attack surface and analysis reduction course, which is published on the EC Council. There's a link you can click on that once this presentation is out on the Black Hat website. Um, I also reviewed a book, Resilient Cybersecurity, which was written by a CISO of Coca-Cola. And I'm creator of multiple checklists and visual guides, which you can find it easily on my, website, chintangurjar.com. I was a co-trainer in Hackon 11 in Norway, where I have given support to the head coach for the Android and iOS hacking for the 2 days, and I have done my master's in cybersecurity from UK. So yeah, that's a bit about myself. Not important. Let's straight dive into the external attack surface management. Right. So before we dive into the external ASM, I want to discuss about the agenda. So what are the motivation and goals behind creating these tools, and why I have done that? What I have done in the market research, which led me, think that I need to create this tool um, for the community. And then once I started creating the tool, I didn't start writing the code. Okay, I took a pen and paper. I design the architecture, design what I'm going to include, what I'm going to exclude, what is already there in the market, and why and how I can provide the additional value through my tool. So I have architected everything. So we're going to discuss a bit about the architecture and then what all Recon modules we have. I might not be able to cover every single Recon module, but it's all documented on my GitHub. But we're going to discuss about the most important Recon modules that I have built, and the scoring mechanism. What is the scoring and prioritization? Because not like other tools, this will only give you the external attack surface list, but it will also prioritize what are the most important assets for you, for your organizations, which you need to start taking care of. And then how I'm going to present the report, which is in a nice, friendly manner from a analyst and engineer can also use, and a CISOs and head of security can also use. And then we're gonna straight, jump into the demo and what are my future plans with this particular tool, roadmap, and questions if you have. So let's start with the motivation and goal. So this is a zero code solution, and the reason to include this is yes, there are couple of open source tools, There are more commercial tools in the market. Obviously, commercial tools will charge you, five digits dollar per year. Obviously, they do provide a lot of, information. Plus, they are providing the SaaS-based solution. Now, let's say if a company wants to save some money and they can utilize this tool, um, compared to the commercial tools and other open source tools, yes, there would be a bit difference. My tool might be providing a little less data, but that won't be more than 40%. So most likely what they see on the internet, my tool can also see on the internet. So yes, if you want to save money, you can configure this tool on your cloud, run a cron job, and then get reports on a monthly basis. It's very lightweight. There are no external dependencies while it is running except for the internet connection. Um, let me give a disclaimer. So I'm not the inventor of this tool. So basically, yes, I wrote the tool, I invented it, but it's just a bash wrapper. So there are already some existing tools in the market, some existing APIs in the market, which are providing you data from here and there. So I just correlated everything and then presenting into the nice format, which has not been done before. So it aggregates multiple Recon tools in the market, and shout out to those, tool creators, heads off to them. um, Now, the core for this tool is to focus on the attack surface. And when I mention the attack surface, we are not talking about the vulnerabilities or the weaknesses. It's all about finding the assets on the internet and ranking them in a way that can help you to do the prioritization. Now, why to do the prioritization? Whether you want to, work on those assets, you want to take them offline, or whether you want to do some security hygiene, or you want to do something with them. So that is why the attack surface and the scoring is the core focus. So market is very cluttered. There are so many open source tools in the market, commercial tools in the market. Either they do certain things, or probably they do all the things but with a less quality. So I'm trying to provide quantity and quality along with the zero cost solution, and the result is drafted in a way that when the report is generated from an analyst or CISO, everyone can use it. It's very user friendly, also very tech savvy, depending upon the target audience. And it produces the self-contained interactive HTML, which you can see through the browser. But at the same time, if you are more into CSV and Excel, you can download the CSV report. It's enterprise ready toolkit. So basically, the target audience for this tool can be the VM team if they want to identify all the assets which are hanging on the internet and then prioritize which assets they need to start scanning for the vulnerabilities or start taking them offline. This can also contribute to CTI team, threat intelligence, to know what all assets are there on the internet and how it can be targeted from the attackers. If a company does not have a proper CMDB or the application list or the domain list, this tool can also help them build a CMDB by just giving barely the target website, like the primary website, and it will give you every single subdomain IPs and everything. And we can discuss that in the later. This can also help in the SOC and the other divisions in order to let them know what assets are there on the internet and how they can prioritize and rank them, how they can increase the monitoring and detection for those assets. So yeah, that's all about the motivation and goal when I why I created this tool. So let's now discuss a bit about the architecture. So it's a bash wrapper orchestrating multiple tools, as I mentioned. uh, you can see the different boxes with the different colors, so they are all parallelized phases. So in the first phase, I'm getting the target list. In the second phase, I'm just running a couple of tools in order to find more domains and all, and then I'm checking the live, what is not. And once something is live, I'm also trying to find the metadata of those assets, whether it's a IP address or website or a domain or anything. And once everything is done, it correlates everything and then do a prioritization and scoring. Now, what is scoring and how I created the scoring logic, we are going to discuss that in a separate slide, and then it presents in the nice output. Just in case if you can't see the diagram, I have it over here. So as you can see this, it takes the primary domain file and then run couple of these tools which are created by other companies or the individuals. And then I merge and deduplicate all the assets, and then I do the recon based on what I found, how many API endpoints are there and all. how many of them are live and all, and then I do a little bit of security compliance check because they are easy to check, not like finding the vulnerabilities, but the hygiene checking, and then it generates the HTML report. So this is how it works. Let's go back to the presentation. Okay, so what Recon modules currently my tool supports? So when you give the primary domain and when you run this tool, it is going to give you the DNS information for every single subdomain it finds. It will also identify how many of them are API endpoints, how many of them are application endpoints because they are live open ports. I have given the Using the AI, I have segregated the list of keywords which could be used for either public facing portals or the colleague facing portals. So for example, www.site.com could be the public facing or the customer facing portal. But let's say dev.site.com is like a colleague intended portal, or let's say vpn.site.com is a colleague intended portal. So I have given a rigorous list of keywords in order to segregate what could be potentially colleague facing portals. So when the report comes out, probably a company can decide whether these assets should be exposed on the internet or not. Then I'm also checking for the login interfaces by observing the home page and the login buttons and the HTML where the input fields are there. Then little bit of SSL/TLS hygiene checking in terms of the certificates when they are going to expire or not, or they have already expired, and a security headers hygiene checking by observing the home page, and then DNS hygiene and email security hygiene, looking at the SPF, DMARC, TKIM records, and whether the applications are being protected by WAF or CDN, and the network services identification. Not only I find the open ports, but I also find which services are running over there. So these are a couple of Recon modules. I'm only talking about the high level Recon modules, but when you look at the tool output, you will observe that there are much more deeper analysis into that from the metadata point of view. So how does the scoring and prioritization work? So basically, once I have every single information, what I'm doing is I'm quantifying the risk by looking at the multiple attractiveness. So the sole reason to create this tool was also inspired from the bug bounty hunter. So for example, if there is a bug bounty hunter, if if they are given a target of let's say large big company, for example, let's say Microsoft, Google, Tesla. So when they do the recon, one of the biggest problem they face is they might have 5 digits or 4 digits of subdomains which are live. They might have 4 digits of live applications. Now, in the race of the bug bounty, how can you pick the target effectively so that you know that you may be able to find something? So, asset attractiveness is the core focus. The higher the score is for the asset attractiveness, um, it is going to give you, an indication that you might be able to find something. Either there's a good amount of security hygiene risk, or there's a good amount of, information for that asset, which can be, attractive for the attackers. So the sole point of this tool is around the scoring and prioritization. So it blends the external visibility with 360-degree asset profiling, which I talked about the metadata, and then it enables the rapid triage by scoring tiers into the category from the highest to lowest. So when I have all the information and all the assets along with the scores, the highest score assets will come first in the table and the lowest score will come on the down. And also there is a color grading so you can easily filter. So this is the core logic for the you know core logic for the risk scoring. So basically, you start the analysis, and for a single asset, it is going to check all these multiple areas. So it is going to check whether the asset is employee intended or colleague facing portal, for example, VPN, dev, admin, or something. Then give +1. Uh, Whether the domain has a valid accessible URL, then give +1. Now, this is not a risk, but it tells you that yes, there is a live website as well. So there could be something done compared to, let's say, vpn1.site.com, which is live but there is no website, but vpn2.site.com, which is live and has accessible URL on port 443 or 80. So that gives you +1 score. So you know that there is a website, someone can do something with that. Then does it have a login interface? Then give +1. What is the HTTP status code? 200. Then give +1. Not every 200, will be every 200 will be given +1 score, but it's not important that every 200 status code will have a proper, website. Sometimes there is a 200 status code, but the website is blank. But if website is blank, then other things would be, low score compared to this, scoring mechanism. So for example, they might not have a good content length, and there is no login interface, so that score will still be reduced. So we are still okay to give every status score 200 +1 score, and then it will also check for the SSL. So if SSL 1.2 1.3 is used, then probably it's secure, so will give a 0 score. If 1.1 and 1.0, then +2 is SSL. V2 V3, then +5, and +1 if none of +1 if none is, reported. So this is how the scoring works. And also the certificate expiry. So if there is a certificate which is expired, we'll give a 20 +20 score. If certificate is going to expire in less than 7 days, then we'll give a +10. So likewise, there is a certificate score. And out of the most common security headers, what are the missing headers? So for each missing header on the, home page, you will give +1 score. And it will also count the number of open ports. The larger number of open ports will be counted for each +1 score. So if let's say vpn.site.com has 20 open ports, so +20 will be added to the score. And also the tech stack. So for example, we have Vaporizer add-on and those sort of stuff. I'm using HTTPX module created by Project Discovery. So that tool can also identify the tech stack. So for the number of tech stack found per website, it will add +1 score. So this is how the scoring mechanism works. So this tells you that at the end of the result, when I have a higher score, I might have something to do with that website or that asset. Okay, so let's start the demo. So basically, the way it works is I have these files. Now, the froggy.sh will generate a lot of information, lot of files. This is where the core logic is. And once those information is generated, it will save it as a, JSON file in multiple JSON files. So what I'm doing, I have a header and footer set. In between that, when it's creating a report, it will take all the JSON file, put in between the header and the footer, and then we'll generate a final report. Okay, so let's create a target website. So let's say target.txt. You can give any name, and maxsoftware.com. It's IT consulting, um, IT and cybersecurity consulting company. I have already taken a permission for that. So the way you would run this is by Froggy and target. So let it run. Um, it might take some time. So meanwhile, we will go ahead with the reporting part, which is the next section. Okay, so this is how you would initiate the scan. When you go to my GitHub, you will get the exact steps, commands, and also how to install these tools. Currently, it supports the Ubuntu and the Kali Linux, but I'm planning to make it a Docker version so that everyone can use, and also a Mac support. So yeah, you prepare the domains.txt or any file name. You just have to give the primary domain. Now, for a company, there could be more than one primary domain. So I'm just giving an example. For example, if Tesla is there, then Tesla is a one company, a group of Tesla is a one company which has a group of multiple subsidiaries. So SpaceX also comes under Tesla. Tesla also comes under Tesla. Okay, so you might have to give more, primary domains. Um, for example, if there is a retail company, then you might have multiple subsidiaries and you might want to give all the primary domains. We are just giving all the primary domains. No need to give any IP range or ASN information. Just give the primary domains. This is how you would install all the required tools. Just a bash, and then you will run froggy.sh and the domains.txt, and it will run everything. It will generate the output in the output folder. So while it is running, so let me go here. So you can see that before I ran, there were only this many files, but after I refresh, so it's still running, it will create an output folder, and it will give a today's date and time and everything. And then within that there are so many different files. So one thing that I'm looking for after the tool successfully runs is the report.html file, but you still have access to all the different raw files and logs and everything, so you can check everything by yourself. Okay, now let's talk about bit of reporting until it runs. So let me check, it's still running. So now let's talk about the reporting part. So we have a standalone HTML dashboard. So basically, it's a single HTML file which will have all the information inside that, um, and then it can present everything. So it will provide you every single information except for the screenshot, because screenshots are not something which I was able to put into the single HTML dashboard. It has to take it from the local, file name. But yeah, if you have the entire folder where all the files are generated and then you open the report.html, probably it's gonna take all the screenshot information as well. But otherwise you have everything over there. You can also select the light and dark mode depending upon what you prefer. You have interactive sortable tables, so not only I'm providing the tables, but I'm also allowing you to filter like you do that in the Excel file. So you can easily sort out things, and I'm going to show you some demo on that. You can deep dive into filters and pagination. So obviously, if you are running after the big target, then the number of pages you might have would be more. So per page there are like 20-ish domain, 20-ish asset information. But if you have a big target, you can always go and increase the pagination. So you can always also increase the per page information. So instead of 20, if you would like to see the 100 assets, then you can also select that. The report is crafted in a way that it can help C-suite to the SOC, VM, CTI, and purple team, handoff. So basically, anyone can use that information from the technical to high level, reporting stuff. And there are some, graphs and tables and everything. When you see the score, you can mouse over on the score, and it will also tell you the reasoning behind, that scoring. So for if you see the score, let's say 40, and I'll show you in a demo, then you mouse over that and it will tell you why I have rated this score, asset as a 40 score. It's a one-click CSV report. So if you are more interested into downloading the CSV, then you can do that. Um, because it's open source, there is a header and footer. You can do the custom branding. There are embedded charts and metrics. You can mouse over on that. It will give you more information. So before going into the roadmap, let's see if I have got this. Yeah. So the tool has completed running. So it is running couple of these tool to identify the subdomains from the primary, and then it's merging and deduplicating all the subdomains. Then it's checking how many of them are live. Then it's checking whichever were live, how many ports were open for that. And then it is also running the HTTPX to identify which are the live websites. And then it's detecting login pages and analyzing security, hygiene, and API colleagues, colleague facing portal, and then build the HTML report. So the summary is it found total 680 assets, or you can say subdomains. But after deduplicating, it found total 13 unique assets, out of which 9 are live. And then there are 72 websites. Now, you might have a question that if 9 assets are live, how can there be 72 websites? But I'm also counting that if a site, let's say www.maxofit.com colon 80 is one asset, but colon 443 is another asset, but they might have, let's say, a cpanel on 2047 or 2069, then that will be also counted as another asset. So depending upon the number of ports open and those are accessible through the browser, you will have the number of live website count. Okay, let's now jump into the reporting part. So I'll just refresh. You can see that if you go to the parent dictionary, you will be not seeing any temporary files. It's all cleaned up. You can go to output, go here, and then you will see the report.html. So this is the report.html. As I mentioned, you can select the dark mode and the light mode. So what it tells you, total 13 unique assets, how many of live, how many of live assets, and how many there are application. These are the top 10 domains by the active URL. So you can just mouse over and you can see panel, auto discovered, CP calendars, and all. um, how many of them are employee versus customer intended? So I have, based on my keyword analysis, I found there could be one asset which could be employee intended, but the rest of them are customer. If you want to know the details of that, you can always go into down section, and that's where the table is provided. So you can filter here customer and employee, but we have on the top mail.maxoffice.com. Probably that's not being meant for the end user customers, so it could be internal facing domain. When I say internal facing, as it's external facing, but internally intended document. Sorry, internally intended asset. How many of them are having the login pages out of the 72? So there are 63 which are having the login pages or potential login pages. Then status code, all of them, and then top 10 ports. So you can see that 465, um, 21, 22, these are all the open ports. So there are 8 assets on which the SSH port is open. How many of top 10 services? So HTTP and then FTP and all. So I'm not actually identifying the service banner, but based on the open ports, I have already pre-configured in my tool that if 22 is open, just name it as SSH. If 21 is open, then name it as FTP. These are the top 10 technologies, cPanel, Nginx, Basic, Lightweight, HTTP server, Bootstrap and all. So you can identify how many technologies are there, and you can quickly identify if there are any obsolete or outdated technologies or not. Total this many SSL versions are found, SSL 1.37, 1.224 and 41, where I haven't found any SSL information. There are no certificates which are going to expire in the next 7 days, 14 days and 30 days, or already expired. These are the security headers. So what green tells you is that there's X-frame options header which is present on the 50 assets and not on 22. And these headers were not found on the home page of the other websites. Total 72. There were 28 assets where the SPF record was found for the domains, but for the rest of them, the no records are found. Couldn't identify the CDN type because if the tool finds it, then it will just present here. Now, this is the most important part. So per page, you will have 20 assets, but let's say if you want to increase it to 100 or you want to increase it to all, you can have everything. So you won't be able to scroll down, but yeah, within that, you can be able to scroll down. It's iframe. Now, you will, first of all, let me tell you how to interpret this report. So for any information on any column or any row, if you just type Nginx here, you will get that. So this search feature is super important. You can give any keyword and it will filter this automatically. The first one is the attack surface score. So for mail.maxoffice.com, I'm rating is 40. Now, if I take the mouse over on that, it will tell me that, okay, it's a potentially employee intended. The domain is live. There is a login interface found. There is a 200 status code. There are all the missing header and there are 22 each port open. So that's why I'm rating this asset as a 40. Okay, it's employee intended. There are resolvers, a record. These are all the basic DNS information. Then there is a DNS status and everything, and the port information, and this is the URL. You can also look at the screenshot, whatever it is able to capture initially when you open this URL. Then if there is a redirect information or not, Nginx is fine. What is the homepage title? So what you can see here is probably the same thing is here. And then you will find all the technology information, status code, the content length, SPF record, every information you will find them. So these are total, open ports which are found 80, 2077, FTP and all. These are like pre-configured within my tool. So this is how it generates the entire report and also generates the C-level dashboards and stuff. You can filter anything. You can go over any asset and then check the scoring. So for example, this one is 35 scores. How did I calculate 35? You can use the filter here. You can use the pagination and everything. So this is how I have built the tool, which can be helpful to anyone. Now, for example, let me give you some practical examples. So for example, let's say if I go here and just filter the home page title, I can quickly see there are cPanel, web, blah, blah, blah. If I have a large target, I might just scroll through the home page title and I can find, um, I can see there are index of keyword, which would be potentially directory listing, or that I can see the VPN or admin or dev kind of stuff. I can also look at the how many of them are API points or not. So I can look into those areas. And then I can also look at the number of open ports and services, um, login pages found, and I can also look at the web server. So for example, if there is a VM team or some CTI team, they can quickly find the version number and quickly look at the CVs and all. So this is very super important. You can look at the number of domains and subdomains here. So this is how you would use the filters either through here, or you can download the CSV export and then you can look into that. So this is how you can use the entire page, entire report, and either you can filter it from here or you can click on the export CSV function. So now let's go back to the presentation. So what are my future plans? So what are my future plans for this tool? If you look at the before going into that, if you look at the GitHub, I already worked on a lot of suggestions. You'll find the architecture, scoring mechanism, and not only this, but you will also find the information on why do I think that this is required to give an asset score. Uh, but I have already completed a lot of good suggestions coming from the community and my own research. Uh, so if you think that there are more things to do, you can always raise a ticket on the or issues on the feature request on the GitHub, and then I can look into that. So because I have already worked on those suggestions, I don't have much things to work on this one except for any good suggestions are there. I think one thing that I need to do ASAP is identify and support the Mac installation, or probably I'll just create a Docker which will help everyone. So I'll do that in the future. Obviously, Docker support, which will also cover the Mac. And I need to enhance scoring if there are more ways to enhance the scoring, and there are no false positive because everything is presentable. I If there are more ways to look at the scoring depending on how organizations and CISOs and head of securities would look into that, I'm happy to enhance the scoring. Customizable, there are if there are more customizable options which I can do with the graphs bar. If I want to only see the certain information, how can I customize that? So I can think of that. um, if there are any community feedback, as I mentioned, you can go to my website. You can find my contact details. You can directly go to the GitHub and then raise a feature request where I can support you guys by enhancing the tool. So yeah, that's all about the Froggy tool. You can use it. Thank you so much. The way I have used in my multiple organization is to running it a cron job on a monthly basis and getting the report. You have one time HTML report per month, but if you download the CSV, you can feed it into the Splunk or you can feed it into the Power BI, and then you can also start drawing the trends. How many assets are being increased on a month-to-month basis? How many websites are being increased on month-to-month basis? Or how many expired certificate trends we are seeing? So you can do a lot more things if you have this CSV report, and then you feed that into a dashboarding tool, some sort of dashboarding tool, either Splunk or Power BI or any other. Thank you so much. See you next time. Bye.